The next 5 minutes will introduce you to some of the key elements of reflective learning. It sounds easy, but the truth is a lot of students miss out on grades they deserve because of their poor evaluation skills. Don't be afraid to take notes throughout, as you never know when the points could become useful on your course.
We've all been there. You've just finished the best piece of work you've ever done, but at the same time you are far from the end of the media production journey. Whether it is a music video, short film or an advertisement, we all still have to reflect on our own work. When looking at the criteria, it is just as important as the product itself. You're probably asking yourself, what do I have to do? Well, here goes.
After the production stage, you will have to write an evaluation. An evaluation is not describing the whole process or saying how wonderful the production has turned out.
Evaluation is looking back at the whole process of producing your coursework and commenting on the advantages and disadvantages of the process. Have you succeeded in your objectives? Could you have done it differently? Did you choose something too ambitious? Did you have to change your method of research because you couldn't persuade people to complete your questionnaires?
Don't leave an evaluation to the written stage of your coursework. You can evaluate all the way through and adjust your coursework so it's even better. Sometimes you will only find the pitfalls of doing something when you've done it.
Would you have done it differently? If so, why? Evaluation can be the best part of the coursework because it allows you to demonstrate to the marker that you have got to grips with the practical production.
A common problem is students can write a good description of what they have done, but often they seem unable to reflect on it, and therefore the evaluative element is poor.
There are many reasons for this being the case. For example, students feel too close to their own creative work to be able to stand back and reflect critically. Any creative work should speak for itself, and any attempt to analyse it is pointless. Media production students will have to come from a variety of academic backgrounds in school or college.
You will be expected to reflect upon the product you have made. You will analyse how the products work in relation to the target audience, your research and media concepts. You should try to write about
how you have used typical codes and conventions from your chosen genre, how your product meets the needs of a specific target audience,
how you have made sure your product is appropriate for its audience, how and where would your product be shown and why,
how you've used new media technology in your work, the changes you have made or would have made as a result of audience feedback.
Here are 2 examples of typical evaluation work. Sometimes students hand in written work like this.
On Monday we could not get the computers to work, so we were not able to edit the scene. We spent a lot of time talking about what music we might use as a soundtrack, but Kerry had forgotten the CDs, so we couldn't do anything. When she did bring it in, it was no good because the track had finished at the wrong time before the credits finished showing.
What this student could have written was,
we spent a great deal of time thinking about which track on the ambient jazz CD we might use as a soundtrack. This is an appropriate music which is typical for the opening sequence of a program in this genre. However, we had to edit the track to be sure that the climax in the music matched the climax in the action.
See the differences. Make sure that what you have written is more like the second example. the grading criteria. What are the differences between a pass, merit and distinction? Let's try and explain so that you can understand. In this case, we have selected the Level 2 Video Production Unit as an example.
For a pass grade, you will provide an overall outline review of the production. Strengths and weaknesses are identified, but there is no extra comment. Comments such as the shoot went well and the final edit was good could be present.
For a merit grade, you will describe the strengths and weaknesses of the work with some detail, with supporting comments and examples. A student might note, the editing was pretty smooth when Eve was walking through the garden and was surprised by David.
For a distinction grade, you will evaluate and demonstrate an awareness of what happened. You will support comments on production decisions through well-chosen examples. A student might note, for the first long shot of the calf is followed by a medium close-up of Cara sitting at a table, because that is the conventional way of establishing where someone is at the opening of a soap episode. Use of technical and specialist language will be correct, appropriate and accurate.
Hopefully that makes things slightly clearer for you. We have reached the end of our journey through reflective learning. If you have any questions, your lecturer is more than happy to help. Remember, don't forget to reflect. So how will you review your practical media work? There are many ways you could do this. However, we will follow Moon and Thomas's format for production analysis. Your teachers feel this is an appropriate model for this type of course. This is broken down into 3 sections.
The first part is the pre-production evaluation. You will produce a review of background ideas, relevant research and planning for the practical production. The word count should be between 500 and 1,000 words. The important thing here is that the work has to be submitted before the practical work is started. Here are some tips to help you with the pre-production evaluation.
You should reflect on the overall aims of the project and research the treatment of similar themes in related genres. Consider the production and its context. Consider the research which will demonstrate reflection on the history of the chosen genre. There should be a clear indication of plans for the production process, aims and likely project outcomes. Show an awareness of possible difficulties in production and a consideration of how these may be overcome. There should be a discussion of the expected audience and how the production is designed to take the audience into account.
The second part is the learning journal. This should be started early when thinking about the practical production. For example, while the pre-production evaluation is being composed, you should focus on reflection during the active production process. The word count should be a minimum of 1,000 words and should be submitted at the end of the project. Here are some tips to help you with the learning journal.
Write in the form of a journal. Over a period of time, there should be many entries that date back to at least the initial idea stage of the production activity. It will continue until at least the post-production has been completed. The entries in the journal will be in a presentable form, understandable for the tutor. The journal is the raw material for the practical production evaluation. It will provide more useful material if writing starts at the beginning of the project and it's reflective. It can be a valuable source of ideas and a place in which problems are thought through. The journal should be focused on the production activity, but could also cover wider aspects of the project, such as the planning, reflections, etc. The journal should be available for viewing by a tutor within 24 hours if requested.
The third and final part is the practical production evaluation. This is the conclusion of the reflective and evaluative work, attempting to assess the strengths and weaknesses of the finished product. The word count should be around 1,000 words and should be submitted at the end of the project. Here are some tips to help you with the practical production evaluation.
Be evaluative, reflective and critical where possible. Use description to indicate the topic of evaluation. Be honest. The quality of the reflection should be reasonably deep. Consider and relate the content of the pre-production evaluation. For example, evaluate the final product in relation to initial aims and outcomes. It should draw directly from the learning journal, for example, direct quotations. Detail weaknesses in the planning stages and production itself. Ensure reflection on the weakness is present and how they might be overcome on future occasions. Discuss strengths of the project and reflect on how they may be developed in future projects. Take a reflective overview of the students' management of the whole project, including the management of group work in the practical production.
If you have any questions, your lecturers are more than happy to help. Remember, don't forget to reflect.